Welcome back to another episode of the WALKON Red Shirts podcast. We have 11 weeks in the book. If you're not doing so already, make sure to rate the podcast, hit that subscribe button on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you are watching or listening to us. Go follow us on social media at WALKON Red Shirts. Check out the WALKONRedShirts.com. I got rid of the ads today. I was given feedback that there were too many ads on the website, and I was told it was a lot cleaner without it. So it should be a lot easier to read our content now. It should be a lot easier.
I'm going to look at it right now. I'm going to look at it right now.
Yeah, I took out the ads. I'll be honest, just full transparency. We've made like nothing over ads, so it's not really worth keeping the ads on there. It's way more annoying than anything we're getting in funds. So I promise you, I am not sitting here aiming for clicks at this point, especially now that I don't have ads.
It does look beautiful.
Make sure to go check out Squad Blitz, but you might want to be tailing my picks because I have come in like 80th and worse the last 2 weeks. It's been really, really bad.
What did I do last week? Is it
still mine was bad. Yeah, you can go check them out. Make sure you go check out Squad Blitz. Go play in their contest. They're giving away like $100 every week to the winner. It's awesome. Free to join. Go check out Squad Blitz. Make sure you click WALKON Red Shirts when you sign up. Click that referral. But Will,
53rd.
We've got some. I want to say it's big news, but it's also there's no news. We didn't have a coach fired.
That's big news. You know what the biggest news is?
Clemson's
only 2 games away, baby, from being bowl eligible.
Oh, goodness.
Nothing like going into week 12. We could have never imagined that, but yeah, no coaches were fired. I thought
4 straight weeks we had a coach fired. 4 straight weeks we had a coach fired on a Sunday, and this one we did not have a coach fired.
Yeah, hats off to coaches.
Luke Fickell beat a
Luke Fickell got an
team.
extension.
Yeah, Luke Fickell got the sign of approval that he'll be back. Mike Norvell still feels like it's a when, not if, with him.
I feel like he's going to be a next year thing. I didn't know
I'm
about
curious
it.
on a couple.
He did say today, Jake, they're very close to being a national championship team. They're very close to winning a national championship. What he said.
Yeah, not with that team.
This was what he said.
Every week, Florida State's win over Alabama gets more confusing.
Yeah, it's like, am I more confused that Florida State sucks, or am I more confused that Alabama is actually good now?
I think I'm more confused about the Florida State downfall because I think Alabama just kind of figured things out. But I don't ever really remember a team accidentally beating Alabama. And that kind of like Tommy Castellanos talked all offseason about how, don't forget about me and, blah, 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 had the hype. And dude backed it up to his credit, and then like absolute fell off of a cliff.
Yeah, he had me laying on my sword. I mean, I had everything like, hey, sorry, Tommy. Sorry for the disrespect.
I was ready to put Florida State in the playoff conversation.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting here, and they also may not make a bowl game. They have to win 2 of their final 3 games.
That was their Super Bowl. There's something about putting that much effort into one game. And again, this is more Clemson niche, but Duke posted a hype video every day after they beat Clemson. Now, granted, Clemson is a premier program. This year, they aren't that good. So Duke, why were you posting a hype video every single day until you got drummed by UConn? And it wasn't a basketball game, Jake. It was not a basketball game. They lost to UConn after dancing on our graves. So I don't know if I'm mad or if I'm like, you kind of got what you deserved.
Yeah, a little bit weird. And so I just pulled up Florida State's schedule. Wake Forest is having a way better season than people thought. Wake Forest is going to go to a bowl game. They have 6 wins.
Jake Dickert, it should be in Coach of the Year conversations. That's
and Florida State beat them 42-7.
Yeah, that was.
Again, I'm not really sure what to make of Florida State, and I really didn't think about kicking off this show talking about Florida State, yet here we are talking about.
Some things just naturally happen, Jake.
Some things just naturally happen.
Well, let's stay in the ACC because you talk about Wake Forest. The ACC is cannibalizing itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you got Virginia just lost to Wake. You got Georgia Tech just lost to NC State. You got Louisville just lost to Cal. Obviously, Florida State has turned into a dumpster. Clemson's struggling. Miami loses to SMU and to Louisville. And, I mean, they play why am I blanking on who they play next? They play NC State this weekend, and they're a 14.5-point favorite. But, Jake, spoiler alert. I think I don't see them beating them by 14
team as well.
What's that?
NC State is like the dragon killer, but then also loses to the butterfly.
Yeah. They're like they're like elephants. Elephants are scared of mice. Obviously, an elephant will fight anything, but if it sees a mouse, it runs away. I feel like that's NC State.
That feels like a good comparison. You look at the ACC. So one thing that we wanted to talk about was playoff contenders, and we'll talk about other games from this past weekend. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. So each week, if you haven't, I do a bubble watch of who I think is still on the bubble to make the playoffs. Very similar to college basketball, but just way more condensed because you only got 12 teams. In the ACC, I think there are still 6 teams alive to make the playoffs. And some of these teams need some help. Some of them have a very direct path.
We have 7 listed.
You're right. We have 7 listed. Georgia Tech, very clear. They went out, they're in. Virginia, same thing. You went out, you're in. Pitt, same thing. You went out, you're in, because Pitt then has Notre Dame, they've got Georgia Tech, and they've got Miami. Even if they don't make the ACC championship, which they are not likely to be, they won't own every tiebreaker if there's more than 2 teams with 1 loss in conference.
If they went out, though, Jake, I think we have to start having the at-large conversation, though.
Yeah, if they went out, I think they're 100% in there. Mason Heinstall is playing out of his mind. And I think the committee might overlook that West Virginia loss a little bit. They'll give a little bit back to them because it was a different quarterback. They can look at that and say, well, this isn't the same Pitt team. This was a different quarterback. They're still going to knock them, but I think they'll give them a little bit of credit back to that, saying, hey, they're a different team with this new quarterback under center.
Yeah, I mean, and they should. I mean, and if you've watched Pitt play this year with Mason Heinstall at quarterback, which shout out my German brethren, they've been a phenomenal football team. And gone are the days of Pitt just playing ground and pound football. This dude can sling it. They're the 10th ranked passing offense in the country, Jake. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to start taking them seriously. They play hard-nosed football. Even though Pat Narduzzi comes across our airwaves today and gives us just a bomb of a quote. He said he doesn't care if they lose to Notre Dame 103-10 or 110-0. That game doesn't matter. They just need to win out and make it to the ACC championship. Buddy, I know what you're trying to say, but you screwed it up. There was a Narduzzi that I played with back in high school, Jonathan Narduzzi. Shout out to Narduzzi. And every time he'd screw up, our offensive line coach would go, Nardoozle, damn it. That's what I wanted to say to Pat Narduzzi when he got in front of a microphone and just absolutely word vomited stupidity out there. Trust me, I know exactly what it looks like. I do it every week. I get in front of a microphone and say stupid things every single week. Go look at my ratings at the end of the episode. Well, you'll hear it on our picks against the spread. They're god awful. I don't know what I'm talking about. They're stupid. Pat Narduzzi, what are we doing? This game is very important.
And what he's going for, the goal is to win the ACC, but you don't have a direct path right now. You need some help.
But Jake,
you have a path to the playoff. If you win your last 3 games, it might actually be easier for Pitt to win out and not make the ACC championship and make a playoff spot as an at-large team.
Well, and Jake, listen to this. I know what he's trying to say. What he's trying to say is Notre Dame needs to join a conference. But the way he said that was the dumbest way possible. Because his point was, this game doesn't matter in the ACC race. But again, you're trying to make it to the playoff, I'd hope. I'd hope you'd have the confidence in your team that they're going to make it to the playoff, or at least instill that into your players. So when you come out and you're trying to bash Notre Dame for not being in a playoff, he went to go throw an egg, pull the egg back too far, and smacked himself in the back of the head. I mean, that was Charlie Brown having Lucy pull the football from under him. He thought he was about to get a banger. He thought he was going to have a banger quote. But you got a long ways to go before you get those Dabos, T. Spurrier, Lane Kiffin quote cards on 3. You have an on 3 quote card now, but it's not going to be for what you want it to be. That was just bad. No. It was bad. Say quote card. That's a really tough thing to say. Quote card. Okay, whatever, Jake. Whatever, dude. It's hard for some of us. Hard for some of us.
The ACC, but back to that. So Louisville still has a shot. It's a little bit tougher. I mean, if they win out, they go 10-2. Like, where do they stand? It's going to depend on some other things. Duke sitting here at 5-4, but 4-1 in conference. Could Duke stop the ACC from making the college football playoff?
They really could, and that would be hilarious. And Duke's chances are similar to Omar Cooper's game-winning touchdown. It looks like they're going out of bounds. It looks like they have no chance. And then all of a sudden, you just defy gravity. You defy all odds, and you get in. And I don't know if you remember, Jake, there was a team last year that defied all odds and somehow got into the ACC championship and somehow won it and almost cost a two-bid league 2 bids. And I don't think that happens if Duke gets in. If Duke gets in, I think the ACC as a whole will lose all credibility. It already has no credibility. The marketing for the ACC is awful. There are actually legitimately good football teams in the ACC, and they get no love because Clemson and Florida State suck.
Yeah.
And Miami was the flag bearer. And we're all right, Miami, please just carry the staff for the ACC to make the ACC look good. And they go and piss down their leg too. And we should have known that was going to happen.
Mike said, watch me lose to SMU. SMU is an intriguing case because I think I'm back in on SMU. SMU has started to look better. SMU has 2 games left. They play versus Louisville at home, which we'll see.
That game's going to have 1,000 points.
That game's going to have so many points. It's going to be awesome. And then they play at Cal, which I don't know what Cal team will get. I don't know if we're going to get the one that sat here and lost to Boston College, or I don't know if we're going to see a Cal team that they beats Louisville. They beat Boston College by 4, but they lost to San Diego State 34-0.
And they beat Louisville. Yeah,
I don't know what the same Cal team that lost by 8 to Virginia Tech and beat North Carolina by 3. Like, Cal is still hit and miss.
Needed a miracle to beat North Carolina. North Carolina beat themselves in that game.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I'm back in on SMU for their chances to make the playoff. I don't think SMU can do anything. But Kevin Jennings looked good against Miami, which gave me a little bit of hope that they might be an ACC contender again.
Yeah. I mean, if we're looking at the 7, Jake, honestly, the teams that I think could legitimately make the playoffs would be Virginia if Chandler Morris is able to get healthy, Miami, Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Pitt. I don't think Duke and SMU are going to do it.
Okay.
I mean,
here's the funniest situation. Miami wins out, goes 10-2, gets a bid to the playoff, but doesn't make the ACC championship. Duke wins out, wins the ACC, and does not get into the playoff. That is the absolute, I don't want to say doomsday scenario, but it would be an absolutely hilarious scenario where the conference champion is left out, but the at-large team gets in.
While we're here, Jake, how many bids do you think the SEC is going to get? Because right now, I seriously think they get 4.
I think 4 is the floor for them right now.
All right, so
A&M is in. A&M is in.
A&M is in. They're a lock. I think they're a lock.
Because A&M's schedule is South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. They're in.
They can lose one.
As long as they beat South Carolina this weekend, they're in. Because then the conference championship doesn't matter. They'll beat Samford. I think Alabama's in.
Yep.
I think Alabama.
We'll find out this weekend. If they lose to Oklahoma, it's going to be tough.
They'll only have 2 losses, and they probably don't make the SEC championship game. They have a crap game, and then they have Auburn, who I don't think Auburn's going to be very good. But then again, they look better this past weekend. I think a 2-loss Alabama team is in for sure. I think a 2-loss Georgia team is also in. That's 3. Vanderbilt has, if they beat Tennessee, they're in. Ole Miss plays next to nobody. They have
they're in.
I think they have I think it's Arkansas, maybe. No, I don't think it's Arkansas. I think it's like Kentucky.
They just played the Citadel. Hold on, I'll look it up. You keep going.
But they play Mississippi State, which rivalry game, Egg Bowl, never know what can happen.
4,000 points. They played Florida this weekend.
Never mind. That game's over already. Never mind. That game's already over, and Ole Miss has already won that game.
Wait, what day is the 15th?
Next weekend. Or no, it's this weekend. They have a game by then game. So Ole Miss is in, Alabama's in, Georgia's in, A&M is in. I think Oklahoma has to win this weekend. If Oklahoma doesn't win, they're out.
Yep. If Vanderbilt doesn't win out, they're out.
Yeah, they have Tennessee, which could be an intriguing game. But if they win out, I think they're in. I think if Oklahoma loses this weekend, they're out. Texas has to win out. Like, I can see 5 SEC teams getting in.
If you make an SEC championship, you're a lock. Both those teams will be in.
Yeah, both of them are in for sure.
So I would say 5 teams. That's insane. That's think half the playoff essentially.
There's a weird chance that they could get 6, but I don't think they'll take 6. I think they'll get ranked out at that point. The Big 12 is an intriguing conference because I think Texas Tech is probably, as long as they win out and make the Big 12 championship, I think they're going to be in.
Yeah, Texas Tech is probably the only lock.
They have to win out. Assuming Texas Tech makes the Big 12 championship in, they might get a rematch with BYU. And if BYU wins that one, then I think they're both in because the justification is they beat each other.
Yeah.
Utah is an intriguing case because Utah has lost to both Texas Tech and BYU.
But both were excellent games. I mean, you want to talk quality loss. Both were excellent games. You look at the
BYU was sitting there at 13 last week in the college football playoff rankings.
Yeah, and you look at the box score, it looks like Texas Tech blew out Utah, but that was a game in the fourth quarter.
That was a very close game where Utah, if they get a second shot at Texas Tech, same thing. You come back at Texas Tech, they beat each other. Arizona State has an outside shot. I don't think Arizona State's going to make it. Jeff Sims, the quarterback, doesn't help. Cincinnati's got a weird chance still. They can actually make the Big 12 championship, but I think they're going to slip up somewhere. I think they have BYU still in their schedule. Yeah. And I think that's BYU versus Cincinnati is an elimination game. Houston's still out there, but I just don't think Houston's good enough to actually make it. Houston's a great story. They're 8-2. Willie Fritz has got them coming around, but I am not sold on Houston. I think they'll drop a game somewhere. I'm not sold on them. So I'll say the Big 12 is 1 to 2 bids right now. It really depends on that. The Big 10, Ohio State and Indiana, I think are locks. Ohio State has UCLA and Rutgers for Michigan. I think they're a lock no matter what at this point, assuming that they win their 2 next games. We'll see what happens with Michigan. I think Indiana's in. Oregon is proud. If Oregon wins out, they're in as well.
Yeah, USC, I think the Big 10 will get 3.
The USC and Michigan are the intriguing ones because if USC takes down Oregon, what do you do with USC and Oregon? If Michigan beats Ohio State, I think Michigan's in. That'll be probably one of the best wins of the season. So I think Michigan at 10-2 gets in.
The ease that you say that with an Ohio State hat on just is mind-boggling.
Dude, I mean, at this point, it's 4 in a row. So I'm going into that game with, if we win, great. Like I have the opportunity to go to the Big Ten championship game. I got an email about it. I'm going to sign up for tickets, but I'm not like holding my breath right now that I'm going to Indy for the game. Just because
that'd be a long time to hold your breath. It's like 3 or 4 weeks away.
I'm going to set a world record. So we've got 5 SEC, 1 Big 12, 3 Big 10, 1 ACC. Notre Dame is in 10. There.
That's 11. So now,
and then your group of 5 makes it 12.
Who gets sent out of the group of 5? I think it's between North Texas and James Madison. I think James Madison has the best chance to get in, but I think that the Americans, so North Texas, USF, and Memphis, all have the most publicity. I think Memphis got eliminated by Tulane.
Tulane's also a team that's not like dead in the water yet.
Yeah, but I think Memphis is dead now. You have bad loss. You have a bad
Tulane
loss.
Taking a bad loss to UTSA was not good.
Well, Memphis had a bad loss too.
Yeah.
Did they not?
Yeah, Memphis lost to UAB. I mean, North Texas, I think, has the best chance out of the American. USF just has that little bit of like Cinderella magic that intrigues everybody.
Hannah Sawyer might start voting for USF now to be in her top 25.
She might.
Go back.
I don't know. North Texas has an easier path to get to the conference championship, and I think it might give them the edge.
Who does East Carolina play this weekend?
I believe it actually might be North Texas, now that I think about it.
No, I don't think it's North Texas. I had it. Hold on. I got us. ECU football.
ECU is 6-3, 4-1. ECU plays Memphis.
I think they're going to eliminate Memphis this weekend.
ECU making the American Conference Championship would be the worst case scenario for that conference.
Absolutely. I mean, and they're a good football team, but Memphis has a win over Arkansas. ECU had their chance when they played NC State and they lost. So you have these Power 4 opportunities, and you have to make the most out of them. I mean, JMU went toe-to-toe with Louisville. If I remember correctly, they led at one point.
I think it was tied. It might have been – I don't necessarily believe – this was like week 2 when that happened, but it was close. It was like 14-10 or 14-14.
Yeah, and USF beating Florida, albeit like a beat-up Florida team, but they weren't beat up at that time. But then they got gobsmacked by Miami. That really hurt them. North Texas is the only one who hasn't had to play a Power 4 team, albeit they lost to USF, but they haven't had to play a Power 4 team to look bad or to look great. So I think that could end up helping them in the long run. If I had to pick a team, if I had to pick between those 4, I'd go James Madison, North Texas, USF, Memphis. In that order.
I want to pull up some of the ESPN power ranking. They've got all this resume stuff on here.
We can't say ESPN right now. They're pissing me off.
So, do you know what North Texas strength of schedule is for the year? Because you talk about the lack of Power 4 opponents.
130, 120,
126th.
I almost split it perfectly.
I think that is going to be a crucial thing. The remaining strength of schedule ranks 92nd as well.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll take that into account because you're going to have a group of 5 representative.
I know they have to have one, and they didn't rank a single one last week. I think they're going to rank somebody this week to basically designate this is who is going to be if they win out.
People get mad about 20 through 25, guys. It doesn't. I mean, I know we got on to Haley Sawyer about this early in the year with the AP votes. 20 through 25 doesn't really matter unless you keep winning.
The intriguing thing is James Madison's strength schedule is 115. So if you want to really, split hairs, they're the same. They're the same. 125 and 115 and 126 are the same for lack of better terms. It's not like we're talking about like the 30th strength schedule versus the 95th. We're talking about 2 teams that have 2 of the 20 worst schedules.
And you think about this, those are the 2 most marketable teams in the group of 5 that are left. In my opinion, I think you have a North Texas team that's in Texas. I think people like football in Texas. And then JMU is one of the most talked about group of 5 teams every single year since they've been there. I think it's 4 years now that they've been there, and they've been competitive every single year. They produce one of the best coaches in college football right now, in Kurt Cignetti. And then they have another one in Bob Chesney, who's probably going to be a Power 4 coach. I would assume Penn State after this year. So, I mean, James Madison has a lot of buzz, and you have to think all these old heads who don't watch football like the rest of us are going to go in there and, they're going to say, which team have I seen the most on Twitter's when I'm scrolling at night, having my cup of tea? That's who they're going to pick.
I think USF, though, don't sleep on them. I think that they have been the Cinderella, the team
right, and that's
people
because
fell in love with early in the year, especially that Boise State Thursday night game to start the year. I think people fell in love with the Byron Brown, the defense, watching them beat Florida, the North Texas game they won. If USF finds a way to win the American, it would not shock me if they put them ahead of James Madison.
Well, and if you watch USF play, we've said this before on this podcast already, but if you watch them play, they look like a legitimate Power 4 team.
Yeah,
they hit. They're a tough-nosed football team. And again, same thing with USF. They've been viewed. Being the group of 5 representative is like, who's the best World War II propagandist? Who can put out the best posters, the best thing to convince everyone to come join you? It doesn't have to. It has nothing to do necessarily with what you do on the field. Obviously, you have to have a good resume, but you just have to be able to market yourself better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the games from this past weekend. So you briefly mentioned Omar Cooper Jr. Indiana drives down the field late in the game, under 2 minutes left.
You just knew that was going to happen.
Oh, it felt like destiny was on their side. It just felt like everything has gone wrong for Penn State this year. Fernando Mendoza, Indiana, are on a dream season. Like, if Fernando Mendoza wins the Heisman, that's his Heisman moment.
Absolutely. And it was a game he struggled. Statistically, you'd be like, that wasn't really good. But those are the moments. If the great teams win when they're not supposed to, Jake. And that's why everybody wants to throw stones at Indiana. They don't belong. We've known it all along. Blah, 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 blah. Every single team, all 136 teams that are in Division I football, will have a bad game this year.
Every champion has a game where it looks like their back's against the wall. There's something that happens, and like you grow from that moment. Your team bonds over that moment. You get better because of that moment.
The 2016 Clemson team that won the national championship almost lost to Troy. The 2018 Clemson national championship team, that's probably one of the best football teams of all time, almost lost to North Carolina. Shout out to
the 2024 Ohio State Buckeyes lost to a terrible Michigan team.
Right. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. You go back when Ohio State won in 2014, they lost to Virginia Tech the first game of the year, and I'm pretty sure Virginia Tech ended up firing their coach that year. So, like, there's going to be times that you have a bad game.
You even want to talk about, like, 2019 LSU. Like, that's arguably, like, one of the greatest teams of all time. They played 46-41 against Alabama, 23-20 against Auburn. They led up 38 points to Vanderbilt. This is not the Vanderbilt right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is the Vanderbilt that was really, really bad. Texas, who ended up not being a good team, like they had their backs against the wall against Texas.
They should have beaten. That was, I think that was the week 1 game or week 0 game.
Week 2, it's when Joe Burrow's dad was doing horns down and like from the third deck.
Oh, yeah. So, like, my point is the great teams will have a bad game and still win. So when you have a team like Indiana, you're in Happy Valley, still a tough place to play, even though I know they're down this year, still a tough place to play. They had momentum on their side, and you just marched on the field and you said, I know I played that crap, but I still got some left from the tank. And you just go out there and just drop your nuts and win the game. And that is exactly what they did.
2001 Miami, if you want to consider another absolutely phenomenal team, wins 2 points against Virginia Tech. Needed a last-second interception, if I remember correctly, against Boston College that year. They had their own fair share of potential letdown games. Not many. They kind of destroyed everybody in their path. But Boston College gave them a fight that year. Like, you're going to have those moments. I think another similar moment, if Oregon finds a way to make progress in the college football playoffs this year, Dante Moore making that throw down the sideline with under a minute left in the game, knowing that you need to kick a field goal and just somehow splitting the defender's arm and going right into, I think it was Jeremiah McClellan's hand.
Yes.
Like, Jeremiah McClellan didn't have to do anything because the ball was secure where it landed.
When I saw that pass and catch, I had to rewind it and watch it again because that was some witchcraft and wizardry. All right, so say quote card and then say witchcraft and wizardry.
The quote card that's full of wow, you got me on there.
Okay, I got you on.
The quote card with witchcraft and wizardry.
That is tough. It makes you sound like you have a wisp. But that was the most beautiful throw I'd seen all weekend. And it wasn't like he threw up a prayer, Jake. He knew exactly where he was going to put the ball. That was confidence. My guy's better than your guy. And guess what? I'm better than all of you. I'm going to drop it in a bucket. And, buddy, did he drop it in the smallest little bucket you could. They say, like, when you throw a good pass, it's a dime. That pass was literally a dime. That pass hit a dime.
That pass was absolutely beautiful. And it really felt like Oregon should have been pulling away a little bit earlier. Mark Gronowski, 10 of 18, 138 yards. I don't know why we're expecting anything else out of him at this point.
But did he have the go-ahead touchdown with a minute left? Yup.
He did, and they almost converted that 2-point conversion, which hindsight they needed.
Yep, that was, which would have been. I mean, that's when you kind of knew. I was like, this seems like Oregon's just going to take it. But Iowa, great. I mean, that was the perfect opportunity for them to win. Home game, bad weather.
Oh yeah,
again, and then you started to have just magical things happen. If they caught that 2-point conversion, there's too much momentum for Oregon to win. Oregon doesn't even march on the field at that point. But it was crazy. Oregon couldn't move the ball the whole game. And then all of a sudden, bang, 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 they're in field goal range.
Yeah. I mean, Dante Moore finished 13-21 for 112 yards and interception. Like, they could not throw the ball. Now,
the craziest thing is Oregon had 3 timeouts. They had 3 timeouts with like a minute and a half left, and they didn't call a single one until it was like 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
They just let the clock bleed.
Yeah. Now, Oregon's run game was there. You look at, De'Aaron Hill had a long of 19 yards. Dante Moore had a long of 49 yards. Jordan Davison had a long of 19 yards. And Noah Whittington had a long of 27 yards. They were finding holes to run the ball. They were running off tackle plenty. And I mean, these guys were getting 4, 5, 6 yards before somebody was even touching them. It just felt like they were wearing down Iowa's defense in the second half. I mean, of course, in typical Iowa fashion, there was a safety that, of course, then played a factor in this whole game as well. Like, logically, of course. There was a lot of back and forth of field possession. Like, I think even Dan Lanning said, now he feels welcome into the Big Ten now that he's played an old school Big Ten game. He said something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
Because when you go and look, there was only 7 punts because they played, so short. There was less possessions, but it felt like one of those old school Big Ten games from like the early 2000s between Oregon and Iowa of just nasty weather, running the ball, just hitting each other. And Oregon came out on top. And now Oregon, they're in their stretch run. Iowa was just the start of it. They have Minnesota, which they should take care of business getting Minnesota at home. They go to USC and then at Washington, which Washington, they're probably eliminated from the playoff now with their loss to Wisconsin, but that makes that game that much more important to Washington. And those final 2 games, I think they can afford a loss, with one of them being Indiana already. But do you really want to test that theory?
No.
Yeah, I don't think you really want to test that theory. Dante Moore, though, that throw made me confident that, if he goes pro, scouts are going to be in love with it, but Oregon is going to be praying he comes back next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, I think he will. I don't think he's put enough on tape to be a first-round guy. But, to counterpoint, this year's football, our quarterback class, is pretty bad. So he might have a chance to go higher up because of who he's competing against. So, I mean,
yeah, all the guys we thought were going to be at the top, the Garrett Nussmeyers, the Drew Allers, the Cade Klubniks of the world.
Also, I could avoid that one.
The guys that were going pro are not going to be up there. Even like Lenore Sellers, Arch Manning, guys that could go pro aren't looking great, where now it's the Fernando Mendoza, the Ty Simpsons, the Dante Moores. Are they going to go pro because they can go in the top 10 because somebody's going to be desperate enough for a quarterback?
Yeah.
Although this is not an NFL draft podcast, so we're not going to talk too much about that. A&M. I know Missouri was down to their 3rd-string quarterback, but, I mean, they just moved the ball. I mean, Missouri's defense was one of the best, and they just seemed like they had what they wanted on Missouri's defense.
And I can't wait until the Texas A&M Texas game. I can't wait to see what this Texas A&M offense is able to do against that Texas defense. And that is going to be a fun matchup between just 2 studly groups. And like you said, A&M's got South Carolina this weekend. Just don't sleep on South Carolina. They'll sneak up on you when you least expect it. Samford, I don't think you have to worry about Samford out of Alabama. Samford, Alabama, baby, the Mighty Bulldogs. And then Texas. And it's at Texas. Obviously, it's rivalry week. Anything can happen in rivalry week. I can't wait to learn more about that rivalry. I have so much fun. Last year, I learned the fun fact that Texas A&M, crossbreeds their carrots to only make maroon carrots. They can't make orange carrots. There's no orange allowed on that campus. That's a pretty cool fact, if that's a fact. I'm gonna say it's a fact because it sounds nice. So if you don't have Texas A&M as a top 3 team, if you don't have Texas A&M as a legitimate title contender, I don't think you've watched the game. They're a phenomenal football team.
The interesting thing, especially here with A&M, is that game for Texas. If Texas wins this weekend against Georgia, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, if Texas beats Georgia, they still have Arkansas. Arkansas has a really good offense. Can't play defense. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. But I don't know if Texas really wants to get into a shootout with anybody. That A&M game could come down to Texas's chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if Texas wins that game, if Texas wins this weekend and then they win that game, they have a legitimate shot to get in. Jake, I want to tell you this too. I got 2 fun facts for you. This one I'm just going to come out right out. Mario Craver started off the year with this stat line. Game 1 against UTSA, 122 yards receiving. Game 2 against Utah State, 114 yards receiving. Game 3 against Notre Dame, 207 yards receiving. He started off the year with 300 plus games, with 500 yards almost. Now, another fun fact. There's been one time this year that Marcel Reed hasn't at least thrown 200 yards. They've played UTSA, Utah State, Notre Dame, Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, LSU, Missouri. You want to guess which game is the one he did not throw for 200 yards?
Arkansas.
No, that's a good guess, though.
Which one?
Mississippi State. That's the only game he didn't throw for 200 yards. Threw for 180. Ruben Owens just ran for 142 yards, so
that helps.
Ride the hot hand.
That helps. Mario Craver actually does not have a 100-yard game since that Notre Dame game, which is interesting.
Well, he gave himself an extra one, so you can say since the game after, because he had 200 yards in Notre Dame.
59, 42, 40, 77, 80, and 34. He's getting plenty of catches, though. 46 catches on the year. That Texas versus Texas A&M game, as Texas has looked a little bit better. I mean, Arch Manning looked better against Vanderbilt. I don't know what we're going to see this weekend, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit. But Arch Manning, if he is finally starting to come around, if he has kind of gotten the monkey off of his back and is playing closer to the quarterback that many people expected him to be, I mean, Texas has a good shot at anybody right now to win these last few games. All right. Anything else you want to talk about from last week? I think we touched on all the big things.
No, you missed one big one. My Tigers won.
Yeah, you already mentioned that. They're 2 games away from bowl eligibility. So is Florida State.
My Tigers won. They beat they beat a Power 4 team at home for the first time this year. So,
hey, what's more surprising, the fact that Clemson might not make a bowl game or Penn State might not make a bowl game?
Equally as surprising.
I'm going to say Penn State because everybody looked at their schedule and said they have a 2-game schedule and they should win every other game. And they have yet to beat a Power 4 opponent.
Yeah, I remember a lot of things.
Can we just talk about our podcast this summer with Landon Tangwall, where we talked about Clemson versus Penn State? In hindsight, that's the biggest joke of a series we did when we're talking about which team is better, and they both suck.
We don't suck. We're about to make a bowl game.
Yeah, that's the key indicator of a team that doesn't suck.
And you gave them defensive coordinator hands down.
Now I'm unsure that both of them are kind of iffy.
All right, let's go into next week. Let's talk about how Clemson beat Louisville on Friday night.
Yeah, we're not going to start with that. Let's start with Oklahoma against Alabama on Saturday. Like I talked about earlier, Oklahoma is a must-win game. Oklahoma loses, they are definitely out of the playoff race. 3-loss team does not feel like they're going to be in the cards for an at-large team, especially with the amount of 1- and 2-loss teams that are still out there. 3-loss team is going to have a very tough time making the playoff this year. When you look at this game, what is the key to you?
Sorry, I coughed, so I muted myself. So just know that I gave out some really good stats, and I'm not going to repeat those because I don't want y'all getting those now that I've thought about it. Alabama is not going to be able to run the football. Oklahoma has a phenomenal defense. They're not going to be able to run the football. But Oklahoma has been exposed in the passing game. They got thrown over by Ole Miss. Ole Miss threw the ball fairly well against them. Texas ended up throwing the ball fairly well against them later in the game. There's been teams that's been able to expose that secondary. Not that Oklahoma secondary is bad, but you're on the road in Alabama. Ty Simpson's playing at a high clip. Ty Simpson could have his Heisman moment this weekend. Not Heisman moment. That would have been bad. Good thing I didn't say that. I just think if Alabama has to lean on Ty Simpson and they need him to go out there and just be surgical. And when they have it, like he can't miss the deep throws. I need Ty Simpson, if I'm an Alabama fan, to be extremely efficient. I'm talking above 50%, maybe 75% on his throws 10 yards or deeper. When he's throwing deep, you've got to win those. You've got to win those because Oklahoma's not going to give you anything. Alabama is one of the worst teams in pass protection and Oklahoma is going to get after the quarterback. So you better get that ball out, and when you have the opportunity to take a deep shot, you've got to execute. You've got to execute and take over. So the thing that's going to be boding well for Alabama is how lethargic and just uninspiring the Oklahoma offense has been. John Mateer and that group have not looked good since he's had hand surgery. I know we've said that like a broken record, but when your quarterback has one hand and it's still healing, you're not going to look the same. But he's starting to run more, and I think he's starting to get his confidence back in the running game, and that was something that was making the Oklahoma offense click early in the year. If he's able to get moving, it's going to be tough for Alabama, Jake. It's going to be tough. I think this is going to be a phenomenal football game.
I said this over on 3 Tech Podcast a week and a half ago. I like Alabama a lot, and I'll talk about this here when we get to our picks. The key to me is John Mateer's hand, because if he isn't throwing the ball with zip, if he's not able to push the ball downfield, it's going to make the offense more one-dimensional. And for their defense, I mean, we saw Joey Aguilar throw for 393 yards on Oklahoma's defense. Now, he threw a couple interceptions, but Ty Simpson is a significantly better quarterback, in my opinion, than Joey Aguilar is. I think Ty Simpson has better receivers. I think Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, and Ryan Williams. And I think Ryan Williams might be the third best out of those three. I think Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton are just dudes. Not that Tennessee has bad wide receivers. Chris Brazzell is a beast. He is a really good receiver. Mike Matthews has been coming along this year, but I saw a tweet today that this Alabama team feels like the 2023 Washington team, just with better players overall.
It makes sense with the offensive coordinator and head coach they have. But Jake,
exactly. And you talk about they had a trio of wide receivers there at Washington, and Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan. Like, they had a trio of wide receivers that were just dudes. This trio might be better than that. And
I disagree. And the biggest difference between these two teams is Washington had a running back.
Alabama that is a very key point. Washington had a better running back. Michael Penix was an absolute beast. The question is, does Alabama have an overall better defense than Washington did?
Washington's pass defense was phenomenal. I don't think Alabama does. This is not your grandfather's Alabama team that Nick Saban was coaching. So I think this Alabama defense is good. I don't think it's great. And one of the things I also want to highlight too is Oklahoma is number 1 in the country in tackle for loss rate, right? And they're top 5 in sacks. Alabama is 64th in the country in sacks allowed. They, like I said earlier, they're not stout in the front 5. If Caden Proctor gets drafted in the first round, he needs to go thank Ryan Grubb for giving those opportunities to get some publicity by running the football, catching the football, looking athletic, because he is a phenomenal athlete, but he's been beaten a lot around the edge. He has not been a stalwart left tackle that you would want out of a guy who's getting first round buzz. So you talk about if Oklahoma has an edge, it's going to be because they're able to put some pressure on Ty Simpson and make him make mistakes.
Mm-hmm. I think that has to be Oklahoma's key. They have to find a way for Ty Simpson to make mistakes. The issue is Ty Simpson doesn't really make mistakes.
But has Ty Simpson played against a defense as good as Oklahoma's? I mean, LSU's maybe last week, and they looked vulnerable until the fourth quarter.
I mean, Georgia's got a pretty good defense still.
Missouri, they do.
Missouri.
I'll give you that. I'll give you Missouri. And
Missouri, he was 23 of 31 for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. So they did limit him in his ability to throw the ball down the field. I mean, you talk about Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. That was kind of a weird game overall. I mean, they ended up pulling Garrett Nussmeier at one point. Like, the thing is, you go through a season with 1 interception, like,
that's good.
That's nothing to scoff at, because there's accidents that turn into interceptions because a wide receiver can't catch the ball or tips it up to himself, doesn't reel it in. ball gets deflected because of a defensive lineman's bear paw hand that tips up and into somebody's hands. You go through and you have one interception, like that's pretty good. I do agree the sacks are important. You look at some of the defenses they played. Florida State, 3 sacks. Vanderbilt, 4 sacks. Missouri, 4 sacks. South Carolina, 2 sacks. LSU, 1 sack. When they have played teams that have a pass rush, like he's been under pressure, but he still doesn't really make mistakes.
You're right. I just think this Oklahoma defense is way better. I mean, you talk about the sacks. Earlier, I alluded to the fact that Alabama does not have a running game. So if you're facing the top team in forcing tackles for loss, if your running game's already bad, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful when you play against a team that's really good at penetrating, getting in the backfield. So not only are they not going to be getting positive yards on first down, but if they try to run the football, they're going to be starting off time. 2nd down and 11, 2nd down and 10, 2nd down and 12. You're going to start making mistakes if you have to push the football down the field and you're getting pressure all the time. So I can't wait to see this game solely because I want to see what Brent Venables dials up for this Alabama offense. This is going to be a masterclass in coordinators with Ryan Grubb versus Brent Venables.
Do you know Alabama has only one game this year where they have averaged more than 4 yards per carry?
What game was that?
Louisiana Monroe.
Nice.
Every other game, they have had 3.8 yards per carry or lower. And they have 2 games with less than 3 yards per carry. Missouri and LSU, they average less than 3 yards per carry. I have a hard time seeing this Alabama team being able to, if they can't get a consistent run game. And now they've had games where they've rushed for over 100 yards. That's fine. But when it takes 44 carries to get 100 yards, that's not efficient. Yeah. That's not extending drives. And
this game
I have a hard time seeing Alabama win a championship and going through the playoff playing potentially 3 or 4 stout defenses and basically playing an old school air raid style of offense where they have to throw the ball 40 times a game because they're averaging 2.5 yards a carry.
Right. This game's going to fall on the shoulders or hand of John Mateer. If John Mateer can move the football, I think Oklahoma wins this game. I can't wait for this game. It's going to be
fun. I'm in a different pack than you. I'm concerned about Oklahoma because their passing game has looked atrocious. All right, let's jump over to Texas and Georgia. This is another game that we've briefly talked about here. This is a must-win game for Texas. They lose, they're out of the playoffs. Georgia makes an interesting case. If they lose, that's their second loss. They are likely out of the SEC championship game. Still have a remaining game against Georgia Tech.
But if your losses are to Alabama and Texas, the committee's going to overlook some of that stuff.
Yeah, but it makes that Georgia Tech game even more significant because if you lose a third game to Georgia Tech, again, it's really hard to guarantee a 3-loss at-large team right now with the sheer amount of 1- and 2-loss teams that still exist in play right now.
Yeah.
Where is the key for either team in this matchup?
This one's going to rely. I mean, so both these defenses. I said Georgia's defense isn't great. They're great. They're a top 20 defense. I'm used to Georgia being top 10, top 5 and everything. They're
top 1 in most categories.
So hand up. I apologize. I'm holding them to their own standard. This game's going to fall on the offenses. Who's able to make the shots when they get the opportunity? You know, I talked about earlier with Alabama when they get an opportunity to make a deep shot and get a 10+ yard play, they've got to be able to take it. Same thing here because both of these defenses are phenomenal and both of these offenses are very, very flawed. Georgia's offensive line is not the greatest. Gone are the days of Georgia just dominating in the trenches and the offense and running the football. They have not been able to run the football well in the last 2 years. Last year, they were ranked 101st in rushing offense, and I couldn't even tell you where they're ranked this year in rushing offense, but it's not that good. So can Gunnar Stockton and Arch Manning duel this one out? I mean, this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be ugly. Take the under. I'm not pleased. Oh, actually, Georgia's rushing offense is 24th in the country this year. So let me take that back. I've slandered you twice this year, but they haven't done anything that I'm like, oh, that's a good running football team. Maybe I haven't watched them enough. I don't know. They haven't impressed me in the running game.
And Texas has a great rushing defense.
Right. So I don't think it's good enough to beat the Texas defensive front. Who's going to wear down who? Who can stay on the field? I think the key to this game is who controls time of possession. Because if whoever's winning time of possession is and converting those 3 downs, not going 3 and out, is going to be the team that ends up winning this football game. Because you've got to wear out these 2 dominant defenses. You've got to.
Maybe I'm still looking at this Vanderbilt game that Texas played a little too much, but Arch Manning impressed me.
He did.
They played Vanderbilt. 25 of 33, 328, and like the offense looked different. It's not just looking at the box scores and saying, hey, he had 8 incompletions. It's the fact that they mixed in different play calls. They mixed in screens. They mixed in throwing it downfield. They mixed in different concepts that opened up the passing game for Arch Manning and gave us an image of what we thought this Texas offense was going to look like. He looked comfortable back there, which is intriguing. After coming back from a concussion, he was cleared, plays, and looks pretty good. Spread the ball around, and it wasn't like he just locked on to Parker Livingston or Ryan Wingo or DeAndre Moore. Like, he spread the ball around. Emmett Mosley had 7 catches, the most out of anybody, but I'm intrigued in Arch Manning to see what he can do. He's had 2 straight 300-yard games. Can he stack a third one here? And I think he's going to need to. Wisner and Baxter have been okay at times this year. I don't think that Texas can win this game on the ground. I think Arch Manning is going to have to win this game with his arm. Yeah. I think Texas is going to need to supplement their passing game with the running game. I don't think they can run and win this game 20-17. I think Texas has to find a way to score 24, 27 points because I think their defense is good enough. I'm not sold on Gunnar Stockton right now that he is a game-changing quarterback. Yeah. I have a little bit more faith in Arch Manning just because of what he has done the last couple weeks. There is still the Gunnar Stockton play in my head against Tennessee. That was the 4th down throw from 40 yards and drops it in a bucket. That play is still in my mind. So I know that he has that ability in there, but I'm not sold on him quite as much as I am the ceiling of Arch Manning. Gunnar Stockton.
Jake, if Arch Manning's going to win and that Texas team's going to win, just to reinforce what you're saying, Georgia's 12th in rushing defense and 58th in pass defense. So if there's any way you're going to exploit them, it's through the air. So if Arch Manning, like you're saying, if he can stack on that momentum he built against Vanderbilt and take that into Georgia, they could take it to him.
And Gunnar Stockton's a good quarterback. I mean, he was one of the main reasons they beat Ole Miss, one of the main reasons they beat Tennessee. Struggled against Alabama, but that was a very tough, difficult game for both of them. He had a good comeback week this week against Mississippi State. And I guess right now I just have a little bit more faith in Arch Manning than I do in Gunnar Stockton. And maybe that is just, blind arrogance and thinking that Arch Manning is a better quarterback and just not giving Gunnar Stockton the amount of credit he quite deserves.
I like Gunnar Stockton better as a complete quarterback. I think he's done a lot for that Georgia offense. I mean, he's won with his legs. He's won with his arm. He's played injured. I think Arch Manning, like you're saying, his ceiling is exponentially higher. I mean, it's overarching everyone else. So, I mean, you give Arch Manning the opportunity over and over and over again, he's good enough to take advantage of that. I just don't think Georgia's going to give him that many opportunities.
Yeah, I could see this game being where Georgia tries to limit possessions because just knowing that Texas does have skilled playmakers. Now, Georgia does too. You got Zachariah Branch, you got receivers out there, you got Nate Frazier at running back. Like, they have dudes. It's not like Georgia's lacking in talent. Georgia's arguably one of the 5 most talented teams in the country. Let's jump over to Notre Dame Pitt, where College Game Day is this weekend. But don't ask Pat Narduzzi. This game is not important. Don't ask Pat Narduzzi. Not important.
Yeah. God.
That was a weird clip. But anyways, it's important to the rest of the college football landscape. This is it's not effectively an elimination game. Pitt still has an outside chance. If Notre Dame loses, though, they're done. There's no chance a 3-loss Notre Dame team is getting in. Notre Dame wouldn't have any key victory. Like, I'll be interested to see if the committee ranks Pitt. Do you think the committee will rank Pitt this week?
I lost you for about 15 seconds. I think the committee will rank Pitt. They should rank Pitt. I think Pitt is a very, very good football team. I think they're a complete football team. They have a really good defense. Something we're going to talk about in a second. I think they have a top 3 rushing defense, a top 25 overall defense. They've got a top 10 passing game. What's crazy is I didn't expect I thought Pitt's running game was what they're going to rely on this year and winning. And Desmond Reed, I thought Desmond Reed was going to be the dude to take the running game over the top. The passing game has been what's winning over there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I think Pitt should be ranked. I think they've earned it.
I like Pitt. I like their offense. This game, Jeremiah Love has looked incredible the last month or so. Been arguably the best running back in college football this season. CJ Carr has come around a ton since those first 2 games. You talk about the confidence throwing the ball. I mean, he's throwing it downfield. He's finding all these different guys. He is looking more like a complete quarterback rather than a first-time starter at this point in the season.
Yeah, no, and if we jump into the keys of the game. Oh, we're talking about CJ Carr. Never mind. I got ahead of myself. Go ahead.
CJ Carr, to me, I don't think he has to do a ton because you have Jeremiah Love and you've got Jadarian Price in the backfield that can do a lot. And we had this conversation on Twitter. Last year, Indiana was talked about having a good rush defense. Notre Dame ended up finishing with nearly 200 yards rushing, but 98 of that came on one play for Jeremiah Love. You take that play out, and Notre Dame averaged less than 3 yards a carry.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say, I was on the right track, and then I had a brain fart. So you talk about CJ Carr and how he's getting better and better. He's playing against a Pitt secondary that's 95th in the country in passing yards allowed. So if they're going to get it right, I mean, this is going to be the coming out party for CJ Carr. If you're not already on that automobile, that car, you're going to be this weekend. He should legitimately be considered to be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. I mean, you talk about, who are the top 5 quarterbacks in college football right now? CJ Carr is one of them.
I think the clear top 3 is Sam Mendoza and Ty Simpson.
Right. And then the other 2 would be Dante Moore and CJ Carr, in my opinion.
I'm just kind of going through my head. Marcel Reed is intriguing there.
But he's a playmaker. He's great. Don't get me wrong. But when you talk about passing efficiency, he's not in the same conversation as those guys.
You want to talk about efficiency, then yes, I would 100% agree that CJ Carr is right there in that conversation.
Yeah. So, if you want to see CJ Carr, and he's going to have to. I think he's going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to throw the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball at least 30 times because I think Pitt's rushing defense is legitimate. I love the 2 linebackers in the middle they have. I'm forgetting their names right now as I'm trying to talk about them, but this is not some fluky Pitt defense that can stop the run. This is a legitimate run stopping defense. If you give me 1 second, I'll be able to quote those 2 guys' names. I'm really sorry, Pitt. At least I know this is a big game. I'm like your coach.
Well, the one thing about, you talk about the passing attack, Jeremiah Love is not just a running back who only takes the handoff. Jeremiah Love has 24 receptions for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's already surpassed his receiving yards from last year. The guy is a legitimate threat out of the backfield as a receiving threat. And I think that they're going to try to use that to their advantage. If they understand that, hey, we're going to give Love his carries, we're going to give Price his carries, but if it's just not there, Well, we have to find a way to get Love the ball in other opportunities. If that's a screen pass, if that's just lining him out wide, I think that Marcus Freeman is going to understand that Love has to get his touches. Ever since that first game against Miami, where he only had 14 touches, he has gone off and he had 14 touches against Navy, but they also won 49-10. But since then, he has had 27 touches, 19, 19, 17, 18, 29 against USC, 21, and then 14. Like, they understand he has to get the ball multiple times, like, has to get at least 17, 18, 19 touches per game. You cannot get away with just 10 or 14 touches a game and expect to win the game when you have that playmaker on your offense.
Yeah, and then the linebackers, the 3 linebackers, not the 2. I want to give a shout out to Braylon Lovelace, Rasheem Biles, and Kyle Lewis. Those are the top 3 tacklers on their team, and they're getting national publicity. And I mean, they're not just guys that are walking around with 30 tackles, whatever, 55, 52, 52. When your 3 linebackers have that many tackles, A, there's not that many to go around, but B, you're soaking up all of them. So if one of those guys was on a different team, they'd already have 80, 90 tackles, in my opinion. But because they have other guys with them who are just phenomenal, who can do their job over and over and over again, that's why they're only in the mid-50s. But Braylon Lovelace, Rasheem Biles, Kyle Lewis, you're going to see them a lot, and I cannot wait to see that matchup with them and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, because you better strap up your freaking helmet. This is not the ACC football that the rest of the country thinks they're going to be watching, where it's like, oh, they're a cupcake league, soft, Charmin Ultra Soft, sound like 2 pillows hitting each other when the pads go. No, there's going to be some clacking, Jake. There's going to be some clacking in this football game. I can't freaking wait.
One interesting thing is Desmond Reed has been banged up. I'm trying to see if they think he's going to play. I do not believe he has not played since the 25th against NC State.
Well, that's probably why their rushing attack is so bad this year.
As of right now, I do not see anything about his status, and I am guessing that they are going to try to keep this quiet if he can play. Did not play last week, and I mean,
if there was a game for him to play, it can come back, it'd be this one. Like, if he's going to fight through an injury, it'd be this one. Wait, no, the game doesn't matter.
Game doesn't matter, so they're not going to play him. So Desmond Reed has not looked phenomenal this year. He has over 500, all-purpose yards between rushing and receiving. But Jakarian Turner has actually been the better running back so far this year. Actually, has more yards, has 400 yards. But this whole Pitt team has kind of been reconstructed, because you make a change at quarterback and start a true freshman in the middle of the year. It's not a very typical scenario. But then when Mason Heischel come in and just averages, a couple hundred yards a game, completing 65% of his passes, throws 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and Eli Holstein only threw 11 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in his time. Like, it just changes the whole complexion in your game. It changes the whole complexion of your season. I am concerned for this Pitt team that there always feels like there's a situation where there's just a letdown. Like last year, they beat Syracuse. It looked like they might be a potential playoff contender, and then they just got the doors blown off eventually.
Yeah.
They have a tough schedule down the stretch. You got a true freshman quarterback in his biggest game, honestly, because you talk about the last handful of games: Stanford, NC State, Syracuse, Florida State, Boston College. None of those teams are scary. None of those teams are that good.
When you think about this too, if this is going to be a letdown game, one of the linebackers I talked about, Rasheem Biles, is potentially going to be out for this game as well. Desmond Reed was questionable last week, Jake. He was questionable. I think we see him this weekend.
Yeah, but what capacity and how much do they let him play?
When you see that dude step on the football field, all 175 pounds of him, you're going to know where he is. And so if they use him as a decoy, I mean, but I don't think
that's generous for 175 pounds.
It's soaking wet. But he does command attention, no matter how small in stature he is. He is one of those guys you have to account for, especially out of the backfield receiving the ball. I think he had 700 yards receiving last year, if I remember correctly.
It was a crazy number. The dude had a crazy season receiving the ball out of the backfield. Yeah. Phenomenal running back. And I mean, he was our all-purpose preseason All-American.
He was,
because of what he had done the previous season. I think this game, I like Notre Dame a lot this weekend. I like Notre Dame
579 yards receiving last year. Was Desmond Reed 579,
Okay.
almost 600, which is
almost 600. Which, I mean, that's more than a lot of wide receivers get, and he had that as a running back. I like Notre Dame a lot this weekend. I think a true freshman quarterback is something to keep an eye on. It always feels like for freshman QBs, there's eventually a letdown game. We're going to see it this week. You know, is there outside noise they're going to hear? Is there going to be a lot of pressure? You have College game day, Notre Dame, massive brand. You know, is this the game that we see a letdown game from Mason Heichel? I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah, and I think the difference in this game is going to be Pitt is 119th in the country in sacks allowed, and Notre Dame is 18th in the country in sacks per game, which they're actually tied with Pitt. But if there's going to be a difference in the game, it's going to be that. If you can't protect Mason Heichel, it don't matter what you can do throwing the football.
Mason Heichel has been efficient, but when you have him under pressure like that, and you have a team that can rush the passer as well as Notre Dame, there's going to be a couple of mistakes that are going to be made. Is it going to be a fumble? Is it going to be a sack? Is it going to be an interception? Like, is he going to try to throw it away? Is it going to be an intentional grounding call when he tries to heave it away on a crucial, second or third down, and it puts him in a tough situation? I don't know. I think you're going to see something like that, and I will take spoiler. I like Notre Dame to win this weekend. All right, final game we're going to preview here is Iowa USC. Iowa's coming off that loss. USC still has playoff hopes alive. They have 2 losses there. Still have Oregon on their schedule. I look at this game, and I have now seen USC win some gritty games. They beat Nebraska in a gritty game where Jaden Mayava was like 9 of 21 throwing the ball. They beat Michigan and kind of ran the ball on Michigan. They held Michigan in check. I think USC can win this gritty game, especially because they get the game in LA, not in Iowa City.
Right. USC is going to have to bring their lunch pail for this one, and it's got to be similar to the game that they played against Nebraska, where they couldn't throw the football very well. I think they had 130 yards rushing or passing, excuse me, but they had over 100 yards rushing. They did a phenomenal job running the football. That game showed me a lot about USC and how they've changed culturally. Number 1, getting rid of Alex Grinch, and number 2, winning a gritty game in which you can't win the flashy way in the Lincoln Riley-esque game. When you think of Lincoln Riley, you think of teams winning through the air. This USC team's been able to beat teams on the ground when they've had to. King Miller is a phenomenal running back. I mean, he is very, very fun to watch. So they're going to have to bring their lunch pail again this weekend, because that's what Iowa plays. Iowa's going to put you in a blender. They're going to make it 60 minutes of hell, and they're going to see who comes out the other side. Oregon snuck out. Oregon snuck out of there with a victory. They stole a victory. They're late. Can USC do the same thing? I actually like USC's offense more than I like Oregon's. So I think they're going to be more efficient against this Iowa defense. Against this Iowa defense. Can the Iowa offense be as efficient or more efficient than they were against Oregon? I don't think so.
Jaden Mayava was 9 of 23 for 135 against Nebraska, but they ran for 202 yards.
200, that's what it was.
In that game.
I will also say Nebraska has the number 1 pass, or used to have the number 1 pass defense going into that weekend. So it's not like they had a cakewalk playing Nebraska. It's not like Nebraska was some slouch.
No, playing at Nebraska is not an easy game either. USC, to me, this has been a cultural change for them. This is not the old school Lincoln Riley. We're going to throw it for 450 yards and hope we get 1 or 2 stops and win the game that way. To me, this is a little bit more of USC cultural change to a Big Ten style team of understanding. Yeah. We're going to throw the ball because there are teams in the Big Ten that can throw the ball, but we're going to run the ball when we have to and win the game on the ground when we have to, win an ugly game. And that game against Nebraska showed me that they can win an ugly game. They get Iowa at home, and I also think you're going to see a letdown from Iowa. I mean, when you see how you lose that game, you felt like you had a really good chance to beat Oregon. You had the lead with less than a minute left in the game. and you lose at home. Ugly game afterwards. Oregon's taunting the fans and the student sections, throwing stuff at the Oregon players. I think this is a letdown situation. You got to go across the country out to Iowa. USC knows what's at stake. Iowa's season is essentially, and when you talk about terms in the playoffs, they're done. They have 3 losses now. I think that USC understands what's at hand, and I think that they're going to have a big day. This spread is single digits, but I like USC a lot this weekend. I like them a lot.
Me too.
I think the game at home is massive for them. If this game was being played in Iowa City, when you talk about what we saw the weather last week, totally different situation. But when you talk about you're playing in LA, you're probably going to get some ideal football conditions. You're going to get 75 degrees and sunny. Very different game. And I like USC a lot this weekend.
I'm right there with you. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. All right, let's jump into our Gridiron Spice Takes of the week. Just like bold college football hot takes, Gridiron Spice brings bold flavor to every meal. From the Cajun-inspired go long and varsity blend, the fiery hot route, these seasonings are built for game day. Head to gridironspicecode.com and use code WALKON for 10% off your order. Gridiron Spice, where football meets flavor. Last week, I said Oregon and Iowa combined for less than 29 points. They combined for 34. I was not far off, but I was close. You said Mississippi State would beat Georgia, and that didn't happen. It wasn't even really close either.
They were in the lead for a minute.
Yeah, like halfway through the first quarter.
Yep. So hang the banner.
This week, I'm redoing mine because I'm not as confident in mine anymore. So you go first.
Okay. I think TCU is going to upset BYU and put it into their dream season. TCU has the 8th ranked pass offense, and they're facing against BYU in the 33rd ranked pass defense. However, Jake, you stop me when you hear a team that has a legitimate passing attack. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Portland State.
No.
Stanford.
No.
East Carolina.
Don't know enough about the Pirates, but I'm going to guess it's just okay.
Colorado.
No, they were on their 3rd quarterback already this year.
West Virginia.
No.
Arizona.
Fafia's not bad, but not a true passing attack like this.
Utah.
No, they run the ball.
Iowa State.
I like Iowa State. I like Rocco Beck, but not quite to the level of a Josh Hoover style thrower.
Texas Tech.
Baron Morton can throw the ball.
There you go. So they've played 1, maybe 2 quarterbacks all year. And that's why they have the 33rd passing yards allowed in the country. TCU's passing attack is going to beat them. What TCU does well also defensively is they're 35th in rush defense. They're not a bad rush defense. Now, granted, maybe teams aren't running the ball as much against them because it's a shootout and you have to be able to keep up. But what both these teams are good at what the other team is good at. So they have good oppositions. Like I said, BYU is 33rd in passing yards allowed. TCU is 8th in passing offense. TCU is 35th in rush defense. BYU is 23rd in rushing yards. I think this sets up perfectly for TCU to upset them, even though it's a night game on TCU on ESPN, which shame ESPN, that's the Baltimore board right now. I think TCU gets this upset and, like I said, ends BYU's magical season.
I said this on 3 Tech Pod the other day, and I am going to stick with this bold take. I think Bama beats Oklahoma by 3 scores this weekend.
3 scores?
Yeah, I think they win by 3 scores. This game's in Tuscaloosa. I am not sold on this Oklahoma passing attack. I really like the wide receiver trio from Alabama. Ty Simpson's efficient with the ball. Look, I was right when I said this last time when Bama played Tennessee, and I nailed that one. Doesn't got to be pretty. It doesn't have to actually be legitimate. Just the fact that they win by 17 points or more, it hits. So I'm going to take Bama to beat Oklahoma by 3 scores this weekend.
I like it.
Do you, as the Oklahoma fan?
No, I'm not an Oklahoma fan. I'm not, even though I somehow have this
It's beautiful. Clemson versus Oklahoma helmet. Yeah,
everybody has one of those.
Well, you have Oklahoma as like your SEC. The Oklahoma is your SEC version of your Virginia.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, let's talk about our walk-on weekly 10% by Battle Bets. College football season got a whole lot better with Battle Bets. Forget Vegas, forget risking real money. You can play with fake money on Battle Bets. Here's how it works. You join a league, you get fake money and bet on the biggest games each week, and you get to track your bets live and all the action. The best parts is not just for bragging rights. Leagues have real prizes that are up for grabs. Stack points of the season, prove you're the sharpest better in the group, and take home the crown. It's free, it's fun, and it's built for college football fans just like us. Last week, I believe I went 6-4, and you went 4-6, giving me another 2 points. I am officially 9 points ahead from you, 9 wins ahead of you. I am at 50% after all of this.
Don't call to come back. I'm coming back.
I'm at 50%, yet it's really just been like 1 or 2 bad weeks that have kept me down because I had a 3 and a 4 win week, but our 6-win week brought us back up to 500 this week. You're sitting there at 42%. So if you want to make money, you fade Will. If you fade Will, you'll make money. All right. This week, 10 games. Boise State is a 3.5-point favorite against San Diego State. Who do you like?
I like San Diego State. Maddox Madsen's still out for Boise State. Yes, San Diego State looked awful against Hawaii, but they're a above average defense for the Mountain West. Give me San Diego State to come out with that good defense and put it into Boise State.
Yeah, that game against Hawaii was pretty ugly. I'm going to take Boise State here. Maddox Madsen's not expected to play, but I like Boise State like the Broncos this weekend on the road. I think San Diego State was kind of running out of luck, and I think it continues this weekend where Boise State takes another win. USF is a 10.5-point favorite against Navy this weekend.
I think Navy's magical season's over. Notre Dame put a whooping on them, which we all expected that. But North Texas put a good beat down on them too. So I think USF just adds to the party.
Yeah, Navy didn't have Blake Horvath last weekend. I don't think that makes that big of a difference, even if Blake Horvath plays. I think Navy wins that, or I think Notre Dame wins that game incredibly easy again. I think USF is just a really good football team.
They're too complete.
Navy has got it by the skin of their teeth a couple games. I like USF to win this game pretty easily. I think they're covering that 10.5 easily. Clemson against Louisville. Louisville's a 3.5-point favorite this weekend. Need to go on a rant for a second. May or may not be there. Determined. Got half approved. The other half didn't get approved as media credentials. Working on it. May be there. May not be there. We'll see if I go to Louisville this weekend.
Rocco, sign the paperwork. Push it through. Rocco, if you can hear me, SID at Louisville. I don't know your last name. I'm not going to call it out right now unless Jake gives it to me. But Rocco, step it up, sign the paperwork, get us in there. Us meaning the WALKON red shirts.
Let the boys go to Louisville. Let the boys go to Louisville. Let the boys play.
Let the boys
play. All right. You're going to pick Clemson.
Isaac Brown is out. I don't want to pick Clemson. My head is telling me this is the dumbest thing I can do. I'm giving you another point. But my heart, my heart's got to tell me.
Your loins?
My loins go to Clemson.
I'm going to take Louisville here. I think there's a bounce back. You get the Clemson at home. I think you'll have a pretty strong environment there on Friday night. I think it'll be rocking.
They're having a blackout.
Louisville knows what's at hand. They have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. They've got to make the ACC championship. I'm going to take Louisville.
We got a lot on the line too. We're keeping our bowl game hopes alive. So don't sleep.
You can win. All you got to do is beat Furman in South Carolina. Wouldn't that be a better way? You just beat South Carolina to go to a bowl game.
I want to win out, Jake. I want to somehow just get to 8 wins. I want to somehow get to 8 wins. I don't care. I would love to play Penn State in the Pop-Tart Bowl. I hope Penn State wins out and we play Penn State in the Pop-Tart Bowl.
That would be the most disgusting game ever.
It'd be beautiful. Actually, I would love if Clemson played Kansas in the Pop-Tart Bowl. I'm pretty sure the Pop-Tart Bowl is Big 12 versus ACC. That would be – we would go.
I'll have to call up Coach and be like, hey, Coach, we want to come to the Pop-Tart.
We would go. I think Coach would reach out to us.
He might. He might. All right. Notre Dame is a 10.5-point favorite against Pitt this week. Who do you like?
I like Notre Dame. We talked about it earlier. I like the fact that they can put pressure on the quarterback, and Pitt can't protect their quarterback.
I wrote down Pitt for some reason, but there's really not a good reason why. So I'm switching that to Notre Dame because Jeremiah Love, CJ Carr, that defense, freshman quarterback, Pat Narduzzi not taking the game seriously. Like everything in my mind tells me that Notre Dame's going to win this game pretty easily. Why did I write down Pitt? We're going to Notre Dame.
Your loins went with Pitt. And you know what,
no,
Jake? 10.5 is a lot of points. Are you sure?
It is a lot of points. A lot of points. No, I'm taking Notre Dame. I have switched you twice already, but do you really want to lose more points to me?
I don't.
TCU goes to BYU. BYU is a 6.5 point favorite this weekend.
I got TCU winning outright, so give me TCU plus 6.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take BYU in this one. I think that
I don't blame
Bear Bachmeier is a formidable quarterback. I think last week their loss, there were some mistakes that were made. You talk about muffing the punt in the first quarter, some things that were avoidable to make that Texas Tech game a little bit closer. And I think they're going to have a bounce back. They still understand what's at hand. TCU actually still has an outside shot to make the Big 12 championship. There's a lot that has to go their way, and it's probably unlikely because the amount of tiebreakers and amount of games upsets that need to happen. But starts with this weekend. But I like BYU. I think they're going to be on a war path to get back to the Big 12 championship and get a rematch against Texas Tech. Next one here, we have Texas playing at Georgia this weekend. Georgia's a 6.5 point favorite.
This game's tough for me. I want the consistency of Georgia over the late resurgence of Texas. So give me Georgia.
I'm taking Texas. I don't know if Texas wins this game, but I think they cover. I think this is going to be a close game. I think you're talking about a field goal game either way.
The game is also at Georgia. That makes a difference.
Yes. I think this is a field goal game either way. Last year's game was a weird one. If you remember, there was the pass interference that got overturned, and then everybody threw stuff on the field, or they threw stuff on the field and then overturned it. Weird game between Texas and Georgia last year, where Texas actually benched Quinn Ewers and put Arch Manning in at one point.
And Carson Beck, is that the game Carson Beck got knocked out, or was that the SEC championship?
Carson Beck got knocked out in the SEC championship, and then he actually came in and did the game-winning handoff because they didn't have anybody else to play quarterback, apparently. Even though
Gunnar Stockton also got knocked out.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton got knocked out. Although I thought Jaden Rashada was on that team, but maybe he wasn't actually there. And then, so I'm going to take Texas to cover. I don't know if they win, but I think it's a close game. Iowa against USC. We both talked about this earlier. I like USC by a lot. I like USC by at least 2 touchdowns.
I think this is a statement culture game. We talked about it earlier. I think this is a statement culture game.
Iowa's passing offense obviously has not been there. Their rushing attack is what they lean on. Their defense is what they lean on. I don't think it's a lot of points. I think you take the under in this game, but I think this is like a 21-6 game.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, Jake, before we keep going. Greg Sankey just said at a presser that he thinks the SEC is an 8-bid conference. So we put them at 5. I think we messed up because Greg Sankey said they should be 8.
Are there even 8 teams on our list?
No,
Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. We only have 7. Where's the 8th team? Missouri? Missouri with a 3rd-string quarterback? Like, where's the 8th team? I guess that's my question. I don't know who the 8th team would be. Tennessee, I guess?
How about say maybe he's talking about Tennessee?
No, Tennessee should not be in there. Tennessee and Missouri are the only other ones because then you get down to LSU, and my God, LSU is not worthy of anything. All right, a couple of games left here. NC State plays at Miami. Miami is a 14.5 point favorite this weekend.
I got NC State covering. They like to play giant dragon slow, like you said, giant killer. CJ Bailey is a phenomenal quarterback. That Miami defensive backfield has looked vulnerable lately. I think they're going to have their way a few times. I think Miami wins this game, but I think 14.5 is a lot of points for a Miami team that struggled as of late.
You make a really good point there. That 14.5 is a lot. CJ Bailey has played well. Passing defense has been iffy for Miami. We saw Kevin Jennings have a really strong day against Miami. I also think it's not up or shut up time for
Yeah,
Miami. Like if
that's
you're
funny
going
you
to
say
make
that
the
because
playoff,
this is my loin game that you say nut up or shut up. This is my loin game.
I hindsight probably should have went to NC State, but I'm going to stick with Miami here. I'm not super confident in this. Carson Beck continues to throw people under the bus. Kind of weird. I did watch. There was. I really feel bad when I say this, but there was a reporter somewhere talking about the Miami game. Might have been Tom McShay. One of the draft guys was talking about Miami, where when Carson Beck talked about in their first loss against Louisville, the receiver ran the wrong route. Carson Beck was right, supposedly, in that. Just wasn't the right thing to say in the press conference. The receiver ran the wrong route. Throws his offensive line or offensive coordinator under the bus in the last one. The inclination was that he was right, just isn't handling it the right way. That Carson Beck is actually right in these situations, just isn't right when it comes to handling media. I think Shannon Dawson is going to get it right. And this is just pure guesses, because Miami, it feels like if you fall short of this, the heat is on for Cristobal. Like, you can't have Cam Ward, you can't have Carson Beck and go spend all this money, and then a report come out this week that you're gonna go spend a ton of money on a transfer quarterback again. Like, the pressure is going to be on if you can't make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So I think the pressure's on. I'll take that pressure makes glass and doesn't break them. Or pressure makes diamonds, I guess is the phrase.
Well, you know what, Jake? You talk about getting a transfer quarterback, and it looks like that's going to be their trend. That's going to be their mantra, is to go get a transfer portal quarterback and then win everywhere else in recruiting. Jake, there's something about bleeding and sweating and crying with the boys in the offseason for more and just building that camaraderie. Because and Carson Beck missed most of the offseason. So not only is he a mercenary quarterback,
yeah, he didn't even get to start throwing the ball until like June.
Right. So he missed a lot of the times that you're really just going through hell with your boy. I mean, yeah, he was in fall camp, but which is awful, which is tough. But spring ball is tough too. And winter conditioning is tough too. And there's something about going out there and bleeding and sweating with the other guys that really get people to buy into your quarterback. So not only did he miss out on that stuff, but for then him to go around and throw people under the bus, it just speaks to I don't like that strategy in college football, and I don't think it's going to work. I mean, it worked for Ohio State last year, yes, with Will Howard. I get it, but I mean, I guess that disproves me completely. But Will Howard goes out there and doesn't say anything bad about anybody. I mean, he's one of those people who doesn't complain. You know what? My point is just ruined because last year the national championship was literally between two transfer portal quarterbacks, Riley Leonard and Will Howard. I just don't like that strategy. I'm just going to say that. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I don't think it's sustainable if you do it year over year over year, because you look at Ohio State and Notre Dame, they both brought quarterbacks in. Julian Sain is I'll give a quote unquote transfer. Granted, he was at Ohio State 10 days after Alabama and spent 2 seasons there now. And CJ Carr, was recruited. I just am surprised Miami hasn't been able to recruit their own quarterback, and they're already talking about needing to go get a transfer quarterback for next year. Like, Cristobal, like I understand you might hit a gap, but like, how have you not found a quarterback to take the reins at some point here soon?
Well, and you know what, Jake? Why are we talking about next year already?
Yeah.
If you're a national championship contender, why are we talking about next year?
Yeah. Anyways, Virginia plays Duke this weekend. Duke is a 6.5 point favorite. Who you like?
I like Duke. This is going to hurt me, but Chandler Morris, I'm pretty sure, is going to be out in this game. He got hurt late against Wake Forest, head and neck injury. You don't usually come back from those pretty quickly. They've been very hush-hush and close to the vest on his injury. I'm very curious to see what comes out on Wednesday. But with the information that I have now, I want to go with Duke.
I'm going to take Virginia. I know you talked about the injury to Chandler Morris. I mean, Duke's coming off a loss to UConn. Duke is the weirdest team this year because they have a very good chance to make the ACC championship. They also can't play with most teams. Their wins are weird. Their losses are somehow even weirder. They've lost to Tulane. They've lost to UConn. They've lost to Illinois. Their only out-of-conference win is Elon. In conference, like, they beat up on Cal. They beat up on Syracuse. They lost to Georgia Tech. They beat Clemson by 1 point. I don't know what to make of this Duke team. I really don't know what to make of this Duke team. I am not super high on Virginia. I think this is just going to be a crappy game all around. This game could be 49-48. This game could be 13-12. I would not be surprised either way. All right, final game we're going to talk about here on our picks. Oklahoma at Alabama. I already said where I stand. I think Alabama wins by 3 scores. I think Alabama takes care of business against Oklahoma this weekend. And I think Oklahoma is eliminated from playoff contention.
I don't think 3 scores, but I think 10 points. I just think Alabama is going to be too much to handle with a clunky with Oklahoma having a clunky offense. I like the fact that Oklahoma's defense is so good at getting penetration. I like the fact that Alabama is good at giving up the penetration. What I don't like is Oklahoma's offense and Alabama's offense ability to score. So give me Bama covering. I think it's going to be a 10-point game. I think it's going to be a really good game. Not 3-point. I don't think it's a 3-score game. I don't, by all means.
I'm going to take Bama by 3 scores. Well, that does it for this week's episode of the WALKON Red Shirts. If you're not doing so already, make sure to follow the podcast if you made it this far. Subscribe to us, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, go check out the WALKONRedShirts.com. We're putting out content every day throughout the week, especially we have about a month left in the regular season. Then we've got bowl content, playoff content, all sorts of stuff that's going to be coming out here. Make sure to go check out the WALKONRedShirts.com. Go check out Squad Blitz. Go join any of their content. Make sure to join their contests. Click Walk On Red Shirts as your referral. And check out Battle Bets. And with that being said, we will see everybody again next weekend. Go enjoy your college football weekend. We are into November. I had snow today, so we are clearly in prime football weather.
We had snow forecasted here today. It didn't happen, but we had snow forecasted. There's snow right 20 minutes from me.
I like snow. I like 2 inches of snow on my truck this morning. It was great.
Jake likes 2 inches. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah. All right. We'll see everybody again next week.